How to recover money owed to you by Airbnb, coming up. Hi everyone, this is Dr. Ernesto from AttaBoyCowBoy, and this channel we give you health and wealth tips to help you be more successful. Now today I'm filming from Buenaventura, Colombia. This is on the Pacific side of the country, and I'm on this really cool beach. It's called Huancacho, and there aren't a lot of people over here, but I wanted to go over a little bit about Airbnb because I've been having some issues with them lately, and I wanted to share that with other people. So first thing to keep in mind is the $1 million guarantee that they advertise is fake, okay? Theoretically, yes, it's there. Can you actually recover the money? It's very difficult. Now, I started doing short-term rentals many years ago, about 10 years ago, maybe like 5 years before Airbnb started. I used to use Craigslist and other websites. And then Airbnb came along and I thought it was great. I've used it since the beginning and I still use it. I use it to book trips and I use it, I've rented many places on there. But there's a few things you need to understand going into it. First off, you're on your own. So if you're gonna spend a lot of money on furniture, you're gonna have valuables in the house, any of that stuff, their guarantee has many loopholes to get out of paying. First off, they don't pay for collectibles. They don't pay for fine art. They don't pay for coins or cash or a lot of things. And most people don't have that stuff in a short-term rental. However, some people, like myself, rent their own home. They might lock their valuables in a safe or in a closet or something like that. And it's only a matter of time before you get that guest that's gonna look through your house and figure out a way to break in and steal your belongings. So you're better off not storing valuables inside of a house you're gonna rent to Airbnb, or even find furniture or anything like that, because most likely you're not gonna get reimbursed for it. So let me share with you a couple of stories I've had. First off, in general, when I file complaints or I request for stuff, I maybe get paid 1 out of 10 times. So I already kind of know how much paperwork and how much time. They make it really difficult so that you don't really want to file claims. So it's actually worked for me. I don't really file claims for most things anymore, just because I know they're not going to reimburse me. And even if they are, if it's a few $100s, it's probably going to take a few months. They're gonna make me go back and forth and spend hours of time over a few months. It's just not worth it. So they make you hassle so that you don't wanna file claims. Now, one particular story that comes to mind was I had a young lady that texted me through the app. It was on a weekday, like a Wednesday night. It was like 9 o'clock at night. I was hanging out, watching TV or laying down, reading a book or something like that. And the person says, "Hey, I just got out of the cancer hospital. I'm really exhausted. I'm getting chemotherapy. There is a cancer hospital close to where I live." And she goes, "I just need a place to rest for a couple days. I'm exhausted." And I thought, okay, that makes a lot of sense to me, because you do get really exhausted and it's 9 o'clock at night. I said, sure. So she had her profile picture. She didn't have any reviews, but I rented her the house. And a couple days later, she checked out. When I drove over to the property to start cleaning, I saw the lady from the picture with some guy loading stuff into their car from my house. So long story short, I went into the house and it got totally trashed in 2 days. I mean, they did so much work damaging it. I think from the moment they moved in to the moment they left, they were breaking and digging through things. They opened everything they could get their hands on. They broke into my closet. They broke into my safe. They broke into my sealed, keyed filing cabinet. They ate my food out of my refrigerator. There was lubricant all over the floor, the walls. There was like broken crack pipes. There was empty beer cans, beer bottles everywhere. There was like marijuana and cigarettes, like they left them burning on my hardwood floor. They left them on my furniture and they just burned out. So I left like a burn trail on my table. What else? I saw blood on the walls. I saw needles, so they were injecting some kind of drug, I suppose, because I saw crack pipes. I saw a lot of drug paraphernalia. My girlfriend that I had at the time, they went through and stole all her clothes. They stole all my good clothes. They stole her bike. They stole my collectibles, my baseball cards, my coins, my silver. I mean, pretty much anything that I had of any kind of value they stole. And on top of it, I even found this big pile of mail, open mail. And I thought, what is this? I started looking through it, and I live in Los Angeles, and they had mail from like Pasadena, Diamond Bar, places that are kind of like the suburbs of Los Angeles. They were going out to these homes and they were stealing people's mail. And what they were doing was they were making fake identities. They actually had like used credit cards and IDs. Like they had a machine where they were making fake credit cards and fake IDs with the mail they were stealing from people's houses. So I just want to give you an idea how sophisticated some of these folks are. This girl really went to town. And I mean, they really wrecked my house. There was water all over the floor. There was like vomit. I mean, it was just a mess. All my sheets were stained and ripped. So first thing I did was I called Airbnb. I reported it. I just started taking pictures of everything. Second thing I did was call the police. The police came out and they just kind of looked around. They didn't seem very interested. They asked me like, how much was the stuff worth? I said I wasn't sure, maybe like 10,000. So I hadn't touched anything. So I figured it was like a crime scene. I actually thought they had to come out and like take fingerprints and stuff like that. But the cops, they didn't really care. They just kind of wrote down a report and said, okay, we'll give it to the detective. All right, goodbye. And that was it, they left. So I was trying to communicate with Airbnb, and after like a couple days, it was really weird, but not unusual, because they've done this to me several times. And I've had up to 20 Airbnb rentals at a time. They just said, we're something to this effect. We're not going to reimburse you, and we're going to close this message thread. We're not going to be communicating with you any further. And I thought, what do you mean, why? What happened? Like, what's the reason? No reason given? Because they know that it can be used against them in court. So they don't give you any reasons. They just cut you off. So I thought, wow, they did a lot of damage to my house. So I kept calling the police department, and they reluctantly sent a person out to take fingerprints on my closet, on my shelves, and all that kind of stuff. So don't touch anything if you're gonna do that, so you can get their fingerprints. There was fingerprints all over the place. Then I kept contacting Airbnb, nothing. I called them, nothing. I couldn't get through to them, and I was really upset because they did a lot of damage. They even drove a car into my garage door. So they dented my garage. It was a pretty big dent. So I contacted the news, the local news, Channel 5 News in Los Angeles, and they picked up my story, which is really cool. They came out, they filmed, they did a report on it, and it literally started airing like every half hour in LA. It was really cool. I guess people liked the story, and they're showing me, and they're showing all the damage, and they even showed a picture of the girl that had broken into my house, and they put her name, everything. I mean, it was really cool. And after it started airing, I got a call out of nowhere from Airbnb, and they said, hey, we want to help, we're here to help. And I thought, wow, really? Okay, after it came on the news, they decided to help. Otherwise, they wouldn't have helped. But regardless, I was grateful that they decided to help. So the news wanted to see how much help they were giving me. So I kept reporting back to them, and of course, they drag their feet so that the news companies will lose their interest and they won't be on your side. So what they did was they told me to go through and make an assessment. They hire a third-party company, an assessor company, to come out and assess everything. And I gave them the list of things, and they gave me a crazy figure. Like the figure was like 120,000, the damages from everything stolen. And they offered me like $500. How they came up with that, I'm not sure. They use some company called Crawford and Company. They're horrible. They're gonna lowball you because they're working for their best customer. They're not working in your best interest. I don't know how they came up with $500 from 120,000. So I kept negotiating. I kept going back and forth. I sent them hundreds, if not thousands, of receipts and just so much information. I mean, it took me days and days, over months, to get all the information they wanted, and I gave it to them. And they would go up to like 1,000, 2,000, and 2,500. It just took forever. I finally got up to 24,000 with like 6 months of work. I mean, a lot of work. I mean, sure, you should be grateful. So I'm grateful for it. But again, it was 120,000. So we're talking about 18% of my claim. and they said they were gonna offer me $1 million. So it just didn't make sense. I didn't accept it. If you accept it, you're done. You have no possibility of recovering anything else. So what I did was I took them to small claims court, because there was an exception during COVID that said that you can go to an unlimited amount in small claims if you're owed extra money because of the pandemic. I went to court. The judge decided no. He capped it at $10,000. Airbnb did send an attorney. If you settle in small claims, that's it. That's all you're going to be able to. You can't go to court twice for the same thing. So obviously they were happy. They were going to get, if they paid out 10 grand, that was going to be it. They had offered me 24. So I asked the judge to continue the case. I told him I didn't have all my evidence. And when he continued it, then I ended the case. I dismissed it. And I just hired an attorney to handle the case. And it's been almost 4 years now since this whole thing started. And now I'm finally in mediation. So it hasn't resolved yet. The value of the items that I requested went up to almost 150 now over the last 4 years. So I'm not requesting that much. When you sign on to Airbnb, you agree to go to mediation. So it's a third-party mediator that looks at all your evidence, looks at Airbnb's evidence, and then they give you a decision of what they think is a fair amount for them to pay you. If you disagree with it, you can still go to court and sue them. It just takes a little bit more money. You have to go to court, hire an attorney, all that stuff. But if you're happy with it, it's a quick and easy way to get the issue resolved. That's why I'm trying it, and hopefully it'll give me a favorable outcome. But just know that they're not on your side. They're not going to back you up. They're going to ask you for receipts till the cows come home. Once they get all the receipts, they're going to say, do you have the serial numbers of the products? Most people don't have those. And then they're going to tell you to go get a police report. That's pretty easy. You can make an itemized list of everything, give that to the detective. If you already filed a report and you made a list after the fact, like I did, because I waited till after the fingerprints and the appraisers came out from Crawford & Company and all that, then I gave the list to the detective. They can add that onto your report. You definitely want to do that, so that if you go to trial, there's a record of all the stuff that was lost. In certain states, like my state, California, there's a victims of fraud or violent crimes fund. So you can also apply to that, and the state will help reimburse you for some of the money that you might have lost because you're a victim of a crime. Now, the interesting thing about this particular case is that when it was airing, this girl saw her picture and called in, and the news studio had to stop airing the show. But it had aired so many times that apparently the woman's probation officer saw her and then called the police, and they went to her home and arrested her. They arrested her. So luckily I had went over there, and I had actually physically seen the woman and her boyfriend taking the items out of my house. So I had to go to court and testify. This person apparently had a really long rap sheet. She'd been involved in a lot of crime, and they basically gave her like 3 years of jail or time or something like that for burglarizing my house. And what they had told me she had done, she was making fake IDs, opening up fake Airbnb accounts with other people's names, and then putting her picture. She would do that in case the host came out to meet her to give her the key, which sometimes hosts do. They would see her face and say, okay, that's the person. But of course, the name you're gonna see on the ID was not gonna be her real name. So I got lucky that the probation officer seen her, and I actually got to get her arrested. Now, she went to jail. She behaved, and she got out like after a month or two. So she wasn't in very long. The probation officer called me and told me she was gonna start working. She was gonna be forced by the court to work, and she was gonna have to pay me restitution for the $120,000, whatever. That's not very likely. She's most likely gonna be making minimum wage, and you know, the court allows her to keep a certain amount of her money so she can live. Especially in LA, you can't really live on minimum wage. So I don't imagine she's gonna have any money left. So the probation officer told me she was gonna set a minimum of like 20 bucks a month. Can you imagine $20 a month and they owe you 120 to 150,000? I'll never get paid back in my lifetime. So it's a joke, but thing is, I never even got 20 bucks. The girl got arrested again. She did another trial, and then she went to court for a really long time. I don't even know how long. All I know is I never heard from her or her probation officer ever again. It's been 4 years, so they said she was going to jail for a really long time. Considering she already had a long criminal record, I'm probably not going to get anything. So, in retrospect, it is good to see the people that are renting your house, or at least put a camera up so you can have videos of who's coming into your home. I oftentimes will ask people to send me a copy of their ID. Again, it could be a fake one, but I match it up with who they are. There's really not much you can do. Airbnb doesn't have a lot of security, even though they say they do. You're not really sure who's renting your house, and if you have big damages, it's very unlikely they're gonna pay you back. So just keep that in mind and make sure you don't invest more than you can afford to lose. Because if you lose it, you're probably not gonna get paid back. Okay, so in summary, if you get into problems with Airbnb and they don't want to pay you, take them to small claims court. It's very inexpensive. It costs about $40-50 in most courthouses. And most courthouses will allow you to do it online now, so you don't even have to miss work. Airbnb is forced to send an attorney to represent themselves. So oftentimes, if it isn't worth that much, they'll just pay you out. So it's an easy way to put pressure on them. Make sure that you go online, do some research, and hire a process server. Don't try to do it yourself. That costs about another $50 to $100. After you win the case, the judge will add the $150 or so that you have in costs to the case, and they'll make them pay you that in addition to the money that they owe you. If that doesn't work, and your claim is over $10,000, which is the limit in small claims court, then go to LegalShield.com, sign up. It's $25 a month, and you can hire an attorney at a discount for 25% off, which is very good. In my case, I hired an attorney. He's very, very good, and they're concerned about their ratings because they want to make sure that LegalShield keeps sending them referrals. So all I paid was $2,500 for his services, and he's been handling my case. That's not very much considering that I'm asking for $150,000 now. So consider that. Don't take the loss. It's not worth it. I mean, it's not fair. If they're offering a $1 million guarantee, then the law is on your side. Don't be afraid to take them to small claims court or to court. Airbnb banks on that most people will be intimidated and won't do that. So if you have good reason, you have receipts, you have pictures of the damage, etc., definitely do it. It'll be worth your while. So from Buenaventura, Colombia, this is Dr. Ernesto Martinez. Thank you. Goodbye.